Good afternoon, football fans, and Happy New Year. Big Al here on this Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. That's right, I said 2024. It's a new year, folks. And welcome to the Week 17 edition of The Week That Was, where we look at all the statistical numbers from every game from week number 17 in the NFL. We're going to break this down into two parts. Here in part one, we'll look at Thursday night football, the Saturday night game with the Cowboys and the Lions, and 6 of the 10 early games from Sunday. And then we'll pick it up in part two with the other 4 early games, plus all 3 late games, and Sunday night football with the Packers and Vikings, as well as my Week 18 power rankings and the playoff races in the NFL going into the final week of the season. All right, before we get started, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. That being said, let's jump into Thursday night football, which began with the Cleveland Browns beating the New York Jets by a final of 37-20. The Browns clinched a playoff spot with the win, pushing them to 11-5. The Jets, meanwhile, fell to 6-10. The second individual number starting off with the Browns. Joe Flacco, 19-29, 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 121.2 passer rating. Jerome Ford, 12 rushes, 64 yards on 5.3 yards per run. Kareem Hunt, 10 for 31 yards and a touchdown, averaging 3.1. Strong was 4 for 29 yards, 7.3 per run. And Flacco, 2 for 3, 1.5 yards per run. On to the Browns receivers, led by David Njoku, 6 catches, 134 on 8 targets, 22.3 yards per catch. Elijah Moore, the former Jet, 5 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets at 12.2 yards per catch. Jerome Ford, 2 for 57, both catches going for touchdowns on 3 targets, 28.5 yards per reception. Akins, 1 catch, 28 yards on his only target. Bryant, 2 for 14 on 3 targets, 7 yards per catch. Tillman, 1 catch, 8 yards on 4 targets. Bell, 2 catches, 7 yards on 3 targets. 1 target for Kareem Hunt, but no catches. All right. Patterson, 1 for 1 on field goals, his only attempt from 33, 4 for 5 on extra points. Hawk, 3 punts, 51.7 per punt. Longest was 56. Savon Taki led the Cleveland defense with 11 tackles and 1 pass defense. Owusu Koromoa finished with 7 tackles. Bell, Ward, and Harmon had 4 tackles apiece. Juan Thornhill, 3 tackles. Hickman, 3 tackles, a pass defense, an interception, and a touchdown. Emerson had 3 tackles. Myles Garrett, 3 tackles and a sack. Bryant with 2 tackles. Newsome, 1 tackle and 2 passes defense for the Browns. Trevor Siemian for the Jets was 32 of 45 for 261 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a QB rating of 83.7. Breece Hall, 13 rushes, 84 yards, 6.5 per run. Trevor Siemian, 4 for 13 on 3.3. Gibson, 1 for 8 yards. Abandaconda, 2 for 3 yards, 1.5 per run. Conklin, 1 rush, 3 yards. Garrett Wilson, 1 rush, -1 yard. On the receiving side of things, Garrett Wilson, 5 catches, 50 yards on 10 targets at 10 yards per catch. Conklin, 5 for 45 yards on 5 targets at 9 per catch. Brees Hall, 9 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets, 4.7 yards per grab. Gibson, 4 for 33 on 7 targets, 8.3 yards per catch. Brownlee, 2 for 28 on 2 targets. Yeboah, 2 for 28 on 3 targets, both averaging 14 yards per catch. Abandaconda, 4 for 27 yards on 7 targets, 6.8 yards per catch. Baldwin, 1 catch, 8 yards on his only target. The special teams, Greg Zuerlein, 2 for 3 on field goals, 46 was his long, 2 for 2 on extra points. Morstead, 5 punts at 42.6 per punt. Longest was 57, with 1 touchback and 3 punts inside the 20. Whitehead led the Jets defense with 6 tackles. Adams had 5 tackles. Quincy Williams also had 5 tackles and a forced fumble. C.J. Mosley, 4 tackles and a forced fumble. Johnson, 3 tackles, 1 pass defense, 1 interception, and a touchdown. Sherwood, 3 tackles. Reed, 2 tackles and a pass defense. Quinnen Williams, 2 tackles. Clemens also with 2 tackles for the New York Jets. Total yards, Cleveland 428, New York 360. Passing yards, 301 to 253 for the Browns. Rush yards also favored the Browns, 127 to 107. Time of possession, 31 minutes, 51 seconds for the Jets, 28 minutes, 9 seconds for the Browns. First downs, 20 for Cleveland and 17 for New York. Jets finished 6 of 16 on 3rd down, 1 of 2 on 4th down. Browns 5 for 10 on 3rd down, 0 for 1 on 4th down. 12 penalties, 74 yards for the Jets. They were sacked twice for 8 yards, 1 lost fumble, 1 interception, and 5 punts. 4 penalties, 26 yards for the Browns, 1 sack for 8 yards, 2 lost fumbles, 1 interception, and 3 punts. Closing line was Cleveland -7, and the over-under was at 32.5. The Browns reached that total and then some by themselves. I picked Cleveland. Bell led the Dallas defense with 8 tackles. Jaron Kearse had 7 tackles and a pass defense. Donovan Wilson, 6 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception. Micah Parsons with 5 tackles. Deron Bland with 4 tackles. Lewis, 3 tackles, 2 passes defense, and an INT. DeMarcus Lawrence, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Clark had 3 tackles, and Dorrance Armstrong had 3 tackles and a sack for the Cowboys. For the Detroit Lions, Jared Goff, 19 of 34, 271 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a 67.2 passer rating. And then Jalen Reeves-Maybin, 1 completion on his lone pass attempt for 31 yards. He had a 118.8 passer rating. David Montgomery, 14 rushes, 65 yards, and a touchdown, 4.6 yards per run. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 for 43 on 2.9 yards per run. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 1 for 11. Jameson Williams, 1 rush, 6 yards. To the Lions receivers, led by Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 for 90 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets. That's 15 yards a catch. Sam Laporta, 7 for 84 on 12 targets, 12 yards per catch. Jameson Williams, 2 catches, 69 yards on 3 targets, 34.5 per grab. Dorsey, 1 catch, 1 catch for 31 yards on his only target. Then you've got Josh Reynolds, 1 catch for 13 yards on 2 targets. Khalif Raymond, 1 for 11 yards on 1 target. Mitchell, 1 catch, 4 yards on his only. David Montgomery and Donovan Peoples-Jones each had a target in the game, but neither recorded a catch. Badgley, 2 for 2 on field goals. Longest was 41, 1 for 1 on extra points. Fox with 4 punts at 48.8 yards per. 70 was his longest. 1 touchback, 2. Sutton led the Lions defense with 10 tackles. Sorry about that. Joseph, 6 tackles and a pass defense. Anzalone, 5 tackles. Aiden Hutchinson, 5 tackles, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble. Bedore, 4 tackles and a forced fumble. Barnes, 3 tackles. Branch, 3 tackles, 2 passes defense. Malafonwu, 3 tackles, 1 pass defense, and an interception. And Campbell with a couple tackles for the Detroit Lions. Total yards, 420 for the Lions and 384 for the Cowboys. Passing yards were 323 to 295 Dallas. Rush yards were 125 to 61 for Detroit. Time of possession, Lions 30 minutes, 36 seconds. Cowboys 29 minutes, 24 seconds. First downs, 21 for Detroit, 17 for Dallas. The Lions were 4 for 13 on 3rd down, 2 of 3 on 4th down. And the Cowboys were 7 of 14 on 3rd down with no 4th down plays. 6 penalties, 35 yards for the Detroit Lions, only sacked once for 7 yards with no lost fumbles, 2 interceptions, and 4 punts. 5 penalties, 34 yards for the Cowboys. They were sacked 3 times for 22, 1 lost fumble, 1 interception, and 4 punts as well. Closing line was Dallas -5. Sorry about that. Over-under was 53.5. I picked the Cowboys straight up, but I took Detroit with the points. I won both those picks, so I'm 2-0 both ways. Going into the Sunday schedule, and we'll start with the Arizona Cardinals upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field, 35-31. The Cardinals go to 4-12 with the victory, while the Eagles lose for the 4th time in 5 games. They drop to 11-5, which forces a tie atop the NFC East with 1 game left. Individual numbers for the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, probably his best game since coming back from injury. 25 of 31, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 116.7 passer rating. James Conner, great game running the ball, 26 for 128 and a touchdown, 4.9 per run. Carter, 7 for 61 on 8.7. Kyler Murray, 5 for 24 on 4.8. And Rondale Moore, 2 for 8 yards. That's 4 yards per run. Greg Dortch led the Cardinals receivers, 7 catches, 82 yards on 7 targets, 11.7 yards per grab. Trey McBride, 6 for 48 on 7 targets at 8 per catch. Wilson, 4 for 35 and a touchdown on 6 targets at 8.8 per catch. Moore, 3 for 26 on 4 targets at 8.7. Higgins, 2 for 21 on 2 targets, 10.5 per catch. DeMarcado, 1 catch, 9 yards on 3 targets. Carter, 1 catch, 6 yards and a touchdown on his only target. James Conner, 1 catch, 5 yards and a touchdown on his only target. Matt Prater, 2 for 2 on field goals. Long was 34, 3 for 3 on extra points. And no punts for the Cardinals in this one. Defensively, Hamilton and Thomas led the Arizona defense with 5 tackles apiece. Thomas also had a pass defense. Barnes 4 tackles. Ojulari 3 tackles. Lopez also with 3 tackles. Same with Demuckley, something. I don't know. Buda Baker 2 tackles. And Chachir 2 tackles for the Arizona Cardinals. For the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts, 18 of 23, 167, 3 touchdowns and an interception, 118.4 passer rating. Kenneth Gainwell completed his only pass for 17 yards and a 118.8 passer rating. DeAndre Swift, 13 rushes, 61 yards, 4.7 yards per run. Jalen Hurts, 8 for 25 on 3.1. Kenneth Gainwell, 2 for 5 on 2.5 yards per tote. A.J. Brown led the Eagles receivers, 4 catches, 53 yards, 5 targets, 13.3 yards per catch. Dallas Goedert, 5 for 47 and a touchdown on 6 targets, 9.4 yards per catch. Julio Jones made his catches count, 2 catches, 2 targets, 34 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's 17 yards a grab. Devontae Smith, 3 for 30 yards on 5 targets, 10 yards per catch. Kenneth Gainwell, 4 for 15 on 4 targets, 3.8 per catch. DeAndre Swift, 1 catch, 5 yards on his only target. Jake Elliott, 1 for 1 on field goals. Only attempt was from 43 yards, 4 for 4 on extra points. Braden Mann, 2 punts, 58.5 yards per, 61 was his longest. Nicholas Morrow led the Philadelphia defense with 9 tackles. Kevin Byard had 8 tackles. Reed Blankenship, 7 tackles. Josh Sweat, 4 tackles. Kaylee Ringo, 3 tackles. Shaq Leonard, 2 tackles. Sheldon Brown, 2 tackles, 1 pass defense, and an interception for a touchdown. Williams had 2 tackles and a forced fumble. Brandon Graham and Avonte Maddox with 2 tackles apiece. Ricks also with 2 tackles and a pass defense for the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, total yards, 449 for the Cardinals, 275 for the Eagles. Passing yards, 228 to 184. And rushing yards, 221 to 91, both favoring Arizona. Time of possession was 39 minutes, 39 seconds for the Cardinals, 20 minutes, 21 seconds for the Eagles. Nearly a 2-1 advantage on first downs for the Cardinals, 32 to 17. The Cardinals finished 5 of 2 of 2 on 4th down, while Philly was 4 for 9 on 3rd down, 1 for 1 on 4th down. 5 penalties, 25 yards for the Arizona Cardinals, sacked only once for 4 yards, no lost fumbles, 1 interception, and no punts. 4 penalties, 49 yards for the Philadelphia Eagles. No sacks taken, no lost fumbles, 1 interception, and 2 punts. Closing line was Philadelphia minus 11.5, and the over-under was 47. I picked the Eagles straight up, but I took the Cardinals with the points. So now I'm 2-1 in my straight up picks, 3-0 against the spread. All right, next, the Chicago Bears hammered the Atlanta Falcons 37 to 17. The Bears improved to 7-9 and are still alive in the NFC playoff picture, although they have a very small chance of making it. The Falcons are also 7-9, and that may have done it for them as far as the wild card is concerned. But they're still alive for the NFC South title. Start with individual numbers for the Bears. Justin Fields, 20 of 32 for 268, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 99.5 passer rating. Khalil Herbert, 18 rushes, 124 at a touchdown, 6.9 per run. Justin Fields, 11 for 45 and a touchdown, 4.1 per tote. Johnson, 7 for 21 and a touchdown on 3 per tote. Jones, 1 rush, 2 yards. DJ Moore led the Chicago receiving corps, 9 catches, 159 yards, and a touchdown on 13 targets, 17.7 yards per catch. Robert Tonyan, 3 for 40 yards on 4 targets, 13.3 per grab. Johnson, 3 for 38 on 3 targets, 12.7 per grab. Scott, 2 for 15 on 5 targets, 7.5 per catch. Johnson, 1 catch, 11 yards on his only target. Khalil Herbert, 2 for 5 yards on 3 targets, 2.5 per catch. Blasingame had 1 target, no catches. Cairo Santos, 3 of 4 on field goals, 42 was his long, and 4 for 4 on extra points. Gill with 4 punts at 48.8 yards per, 53 was his long, and 1 touchback. Okay. Brisker, Edmonds, Stevenson, and Jackson each had 4 tackles to lead Chicago's defense. Edmonds added a pass defense. Stevenson had 4 passes defense and 2 interceptions. Dexter with 3 tackles and 1.5 sacks. Smith, 2 tackles. Gordon, 2 tackles, 1 pass defense, and an interception. Green, 2 tackles. Edwards, 2 tackles, 1 pass defense, and an interception. And Johnson with 2 tackles for the Chicago Bears. For the Atlanta Falcons, rough game for Taylor Heineke, 10 for 29 for 163, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and a really poor QB rating of 26.1. Desmond Ridder wasn't much better. 3 of 4 for 17 yards, no touchdowns, but 1 more interception, lowering his QB rating to 42.7. Bijan Robinson, 15 for 75 yards, 5 yards per run. Heineke, 4 for 46 and a touchdown on 11.5. Tyler Algier held to 5 rushes, 13 yards on 2.6. Algier also led the Atlanta receivers. Only 1 catch for 75 yards and a touchdown on his lone target, so he definitely made that catch count. Drake London, 4 for 56 yards on 10 targets at 14 per catch. Van Jefferson, 3 for 19 on 5 targets, 6.3 per catch. Pruitt, 1 catch, 14 yards on his only target. Bijan Robinson, 3 catches, 11 yards on 4 targets, 3.7 per catch. Kyle Pitts, 1 for 5 yards on 5 targets. Hodge had 2 targets, no catches. Smith had 4 targets, no catches. Younghoe Koo, 1 for 3 on field goals, longest was 38. 2 for 2 on extra points. Bradley Pinion, 3 punts, 42.7 per punt, 45 was his longest. Jesse Bates led the Falcons defense with 9 tackles. Ellis, 6 tackles and a sack. Hillams also had 6 tackles. Grant and Landman each had 5 tackles apiece. Harrison, 4 tackles. Phillips, 3 tackles. Carter, 3 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. Hughes, 2 tackles and a pass defense. Campbell and Hollins with 2 tackles each for the Atlanta Falcons. All right, total yards. Bears 432, Falcons 307. Passing yards and rush yards both favored Chicago. Passing yards were 240 to 173. Rush yards were 192 to 134. Time of possession, 37 minutes, 14 seconds for the Chicago Bears. 22 minutes, 46 seconds for the Atlanta Falcons. First downs, 22 for the Bears, 15 for the Falcons. Atlanta, 4 of 13 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down. Chicago, 6 of 16 on third down, 1 for 2 on fourth down. One penalty for 15 yards for Atlanta. They were sacked twice for 7 yards, no lost fumbles, 4 interceptions, big reason why they lost this game, and 3 punts. 5 penalties, 55 yards for the Chicago Bears. They were sacked 3 times for 28. No lost fumbles, no interceptions, 4 punts. Closing line was Chicago minus 2.5, and the over-under was 38.5. I took the Bears both straight up and against the spread. So now my straight up record for the week is 3-1. My ATS record is 4-0. So I'm still perfect ATS. Moving on to the Kiddie Bowl. The Jacksonville Jaguars dominated the Carolina Panthers 26-0. The Jags improved to 9-7 with the win, while the Carolina Panthers fall to 2-14. We'll start with individual numbers for the Jaguars first. C.J. Beathard in for the injured Trevor Lawrence finished 17 of 24 for 178 yards, no touchdowns or interceptions, and a 92 QB rating. Travis Etienne, 16 for 102 and 2 touchdowns on 6.4 per run. Tank Bixby, 10 for 32, 3.2 per run. C.J. Beathard ran 3 times for 24 on 8 yards per run. Johnson, 3 rushes, no yards. Barkley, 3 rushes for -3. Evan Ingram led Jacksonville's receivers, 6 catches for 60 yards on 6 targets at 10 per catch. Jamal Agnew, 2 for 53 on 2 targets, 26.5 per grab. Calvin Ridley, 4 for 39 on 8 targets at 9.8 per catch. Travis Etienne, 2 for 16 yards on 2 targets at 8 per catch. Farrell, 1 catch, 7 yards on his only target. Parker Washington, 1 catch, 2 yards on his only target. Strange with 1 catch for 1 yard on 2 targets. Jones, 1 target, no catches. Ryan is 4 for 4 on field goals. His long was 35, 2 for 2 on extra points. Cook with 3 punts at 46.7 per punt, 53 was his long, and 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. On to the defense. Campbell had 6 tackles and a pass defense, and Walker has 6 tackles and 2 sacks, leading Jacksonville's defense. Josh Allen, 5 tackles, 3 sacks. Lloyd, 3 tackles. Olakun, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Herndon, 3 tackles. Cisco, 2 tackles. Johnson, 2 tackles, 1 pass defense, and an INT. Fadukowski, 2 tackles. And Robertson, Harris, and Williams each had a tackle in the game. Robertson Harris also added a sack for Jacksonville. For the Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young, 19 of 32, 112 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 53.1 passer rating. Chuba Hubbard, 11 rushes, 45 yards, 4.1 per run. Miles Sanders, 2 for 10 yards, 5 per run. Bryce Young, 1 rush, 2 yards. Smith Marset, 1 rush for no yards. Sorry. All right. Adam Thielen led the Panthers with 6 catches, 38 yards on 6 targets, and 6.3 yards per catch. Hubbard, 4 for 26 on 5 targets at 6.5 per catch. DJ Chark against his former team, one catch for 18 yards on 6 targets. Miles Sanders, 2 catches, 12 yards on 2 targets, 6 per catch. Smith Marset, 3 for 12 yards, 3 targets, and 4 yards per grab. Trimble, 1 catch, 3 targets, 6 yards. Sullivan had 2 targets, no catches. Thomas, 1 target, no catches. Mingo, 2 catches, no yards on 3 targets. Nothing in terms of field goals and extra points for the Panthers. Johnny Hecker had 6 punts at 49.5 per punt. His longest 52, with 1 touchback and 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. Burns led the Carolina defense with 5 tackles and a sack. Jones with 4 tackles and a sack. Griffin, 4 tackles and a pass defense. Xavier Woods, 4 tackles. Brown, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Haynes, 3 tackles. Jackson also with 3 tackles. Bell, Thurman, and Gruger Hill each with 2 tackles for the Panthers. Total yards, 317 for Jacksonville, 124 for Carolina. That's it, 124. Pass and rush yards both favored the Jaguars. 162-67 through the air and 155-57 on the ground. Again, both favoring the Jacksonville Jaguars. 33 minutes, 29 seconds time of possession also favoring Jacksonville. Carolina, 26 minutes, 31 seconds. 16 first downs for the Jaguars, only 7 for the Panthers. Carolina was 1 for 13 on 3rd down, not good, and 3 for 6 on 4th down. Jacksonville, 7 of 16 on 3rd down, 1 for 1 on 4th down. 3 penalties, 24 yards for the Carolina Panthers. They were sacked 6 times for 45 yards, no lost fumbles, 1 interception, and 6 punts. 1 penalty, 15 yards for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They gave up 3 sacks for 16 yards, no lost fumbles, no interceptions, and 3 punts. Closing line was Jacksonville minus 3.5, and the over-under was 38.5. I picked Jacksonville both straight up and against the spread. So I am 4-1 straight up and a perfect 5-0 in my ATS picks. That brings us to the Indianapolis Colts, holding off the Las Vegas Raiders 23-20. Indianapolis stays in the AFC South picture at 9-7, while the Las Vegas Raiders fall to 7-9. They pretty much have no shot at the playoffs now after this loss. We'll begin with individual numbers for the hometown Indianapolis Colts. So that means we will start with Gardner Minshew. 15 of 23, 224 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and a 111.5 QB rating. Jonathan Taylor, 21 for 96, and a touchdown on 4.6. Sermon, 5 for 32 on 6.4. Goodson, 1 rush, 3 yards. Minshew, 2 rushes, 3 yards. Pierce led the Indy receivers, 1 catch, 58 yards on his only target, and it went for a touchdown. Next, you've got Josh Downs, 2 catches, 3 yards on 2 targets at 26.5 per catch. Michael Pittman, 5 for 46 yards on 7 targets at 9.2. Mallory, 1 catch, 19 yards on his only target. Mo Alley Cox, 2 catches, 18 yards on 3 targets, 9 per catch. Granson, 1 for 13 on 3 targets. Sermon, 2 grabs, 9 yards, 2 targets, 4.5 per catch. Taylor, 1 catch, 8 yards on his only target. Matt 3 for 3 on field goals. Longest is 45. 2 for 2 on extra points. Sanchez, 3 punts at 49.7 per punt. Longest is 51. Speed led the Indianapolis defense with 8 tackles. Zaire Franklin, 7 tackles, a pass defense as well. Cross with 3 tackles. Brents, 3 tackles and 3 passes defense. Harrison, 3 tackles. DeForest Buckner, 3 tackles and a sack. Jones, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Lemons, 2 tackles and a pass defense. Alubi and Grover Stewart, each with 2 tackles for the Indianapolis Colts. For the Las Vegas Raiders, Aiden O'Connell, 30-47, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Quarterback rating of 96. Zaire White, 20 for 71 yards on 3.5, again filling in for Josh Jacobs. Bolden, 2 rushes, 6 yards on 3 per run. Amir Abdullah, 1 for 4 yards. Aiden O'Connell, 2 for 3 yards. Solid game for Devontae Adams, 13 catches, 126 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 21 targets, 9.7 yards per grab. Jacoby Myers, 6 for 56 on 10 targets, 9.3 a catch. Tucker, 2 for 36 on 5 targets, 18 yards per catch. Zaire White, 5 for 30. That should be Zamir White, I should say, not Zaire. But Zamir White had 5 catches for 35 yards on 6 targets at 7 per catch. Austin Hooper, 3 for 28 on 3 targets and 9.3 per grab. Amir Abdullah, 1 catch, 18 yards on his only target. Daniel Carlson, 2 for 2 on field goals, 40 was his long, 2 for 2 on extra points. A.J. Cole, 5 punts at 37.4 per punt. His long was 56, and 4 of his 5 punts inside the 20-yard line. Jenkins and Spillane led the Vegas defense with 5 tackles apiece. You have 4 tackles from Hobbs, Max Crosby with 3 tackles and a forced fumble, Robertson and Morig with 3 tackles each. Jones, Diablo, Faison, and Butler, 2 tackles each. Butler also added a sack for the Raiders. Total yards, 370 for Las Vegas, 349 for Indianapolis. Pass yards are 286, 215 Las Vegas. Rush yards are 134 to 84 Indianapolis. Time of possession, Raiders 33 minutes, 44 seconds. Colts 26 minutes, 16 seconds. The Raiders had 26 first downs versus 16 for the Indianapolis Colts. Vegas finished 5 of 15 on third down, 2 for 2 on fourth down, while the Colts were 6 of 13 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down. 7 penalties, 54 yards for the Las Vegas Raiders. 2 sacks taken for 13 yards. No fumbles lost, no interceptions, and 5 punts. 5 penalties, 52 yards for the Indianapolis Colts. 1 sack taken for 9 yards. No lost fumbles, no interceptions, and 3 punts. Closing line in this game was Indianapolis minus 3.5, so they barely covered the spread. Over-under was 42. I did take the Raiders both straight up and against the spread and lost both picks. So I'm 4-2 straight up, and this is my first ATS loss of the week against 5 wins. Next, a rather entertaining game as the Los Angeles Rams lock up a spot in the playoffs by edging out the New York Giants 26-25. Again, LA headed to the playoffs at 9-7. while the Giants dropped to 5-11. We'll start with the individual numbers for the Rams. Matthew Stafford, 24-34, 317, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Not his best game. Quarterback rating of 85.1. Kyron Williams, 20 for 87 and 3 touchdowns on 4.3 per run. Puka Nacua, 2 for 19 on 9.5. Matt Stafford, 1 for -1 yard. The aforementioned Puka Nacua led the Ram receivers, 5 catches, 118 yards, and 8 targets on 23.6 per catch. Robinson, 6 for 92 on 10 targets and 15.3 per catch. Tyler Higbee, 6 for 62 on 7 targets, 10.3 per catch. Cooper Kupp, 4 for 27 and a touchdown on 6 targets, 6.8 per catch. Kyron Williams, 2 for 14 yards on 2 targets at 7 per grab. Rivers, 1 catch, 4 yards on his only target. Atwell had a target and no catches. No field goals attempted for Havrizik, 2 for 4 on extra points. Evans, 5 punts at 57.4 per punt. 72 was his longest. 1 touchback and 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. On to the defense. Jones had 7 tackles. Fuller also had 7 tackles, plus 1 pass defense and an interception. Witherspoon, 4 tackles and a pass defense. Young, 4 tackles and a sack. Hosh, 3 tackles and half a sack. Aaron Donald, 3 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 pass defense. Blake, 3 tackles. Turner, 3 tackles and 2.5 sacks. Roseboom, Yeast, and Williams with 2 tackles each for the Rams. For the New York Giants, Tyrod Taylor, 27 of 41, 319 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 87.3 passer rating. He also led the Giants in rushing for 40 yards on 6.7 per run. Saquon Barkley to 39 yards on 12 rushes at 3.3 per run. Wan'Dale Robinson, 1 rush for 24, and it went for a touchdown. And Gray, 1 rush for 2 yards. Darius Slayton led the New York receivers with 4 catches, 106 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets, 26.5 yards per catch. Wan'Dale Robinson, 6 for 55 on 9 targets, and 9.2 per grab. Darren Waller, 5 for 51 on 6 targets, 10.2 yards per catch. I think that's Daniel Bellinger. We'll see, though. Yep, I was right. Daniel Bellinger. 4 catches, 39 yards on 4 targets, 9.8 per catch. Hyatt, 3 for 25 on 4 targets at 8.3. Saquon, 3 for 19 on 6 targets on 6.3. Hodgins, 1 catch, 18 yards on 2 targets. Gray, 1 catch, 6 yards on his only target. Shepard had 1 target, but no catches. Crosby, 2 for 3 on field goals, 30 was his line, 1 for 2 on extra points. Gillen, 5 punts, 44.4 yards per punt, 52 was his line, 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. McLeod led the New York Giants defense with 6 tackles and a forced fumble. Jackson, 5 tackles, a forced fumble, and a pass defense. McKinney, 4 tackles. Flott, 3 tackles. Simmons, 3 tackles and a sack. Nunez Roches, 3 tackles, half a sack. Okereke, 2 tackles, 1.5 sacks. Robinson, 2 tackles. Ward, 2 tackles and a sack. Lawrence and McFadden, 2 tackles each for the Giants. Total yards, pretty much even across the board. 391 for the Rams to 389 for the Giants. Passing yards, a slight favor to LA, 286 to 284. Both teams had 105 yards rushing. Time of possession, 30 minutes, 11 seconds for the Rams, 29 minutes, 49 seconds for the Giants. LA had 22 first down, 17 for New York. The Rams were 2 of 8 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down. The Giants were 5 for 16 on third down, 1 for 3 on fourth down. 3 penalties, 28 yards for the Los Angeles Rams. They were sacked 4 times for 31. 1 lost fumble, 2 interceptions, and 5 punts. 7 penalties, 65 yards for the New York Giants. 6 sacks taken for 35 yards. No lost fumbles, 1 interception, and 5 punts. Closing line was LA minus 6.5. Over under was 3.5. I picked the Rams straight up, but I took the Giants with the points. So now I am 5-2 with my straight up picks, 6-1 in my ATS. The last game we'll look at here in part 1, a big game in the AFC. Too bad it didn't live up to the hype as the Baltimore Ravens jack stomped the Miami Dolphins 56-19. Baltimore goes to 13-3, and they have locked up home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs with the victory. The Dolphins fell to 11-5, awaiting their season finale in Miami next week against the Dolphins to determine who wins the AFC East. We'll start with individual numbers for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, 18 of 21, 321 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. And Todd Hundley, 1 for 1 for 19 and a touchdown. And both finished with passer ratings of 158.3, which is the highest you can get in the NFL. On the ground, Gus Edwards led the charge, 16 for 68 yards and a touchdown on 4.3. Justice Hill, 3 for 48 on 16 per run. Lamar Jackson, 6 for 35 on 5.8. Gordon, 6 for 10 and a touchdown on just 1.7 per total. Hundley, 1 rush, minus 1 yard. Okay. Zay Flowers, the rookie, had 3 catches, 106 yards, a touchdown on 3 targets at 35.3 yards per catch to lead Baltimore's receivers. Justice Hill, 5 for 64 and a touchdown on 5 targets, 12.8 per catch. Rashad Bateman, 4 for 54 on 6.5 per catch. Isaiah Likely, 2 for 42, both catches going for scores on 3 targets at 21 per catch. Odell Beckham Jr., 1 catch on his only target, went for 33 yards. Kohler, 1 catch, 19 yards, and a touchdown on his lone target. Nelson Aguilar, 2 for 18 on 2 targets, 9 per catch. Ricard, 1 for 4 yards on his only target, and that also goes for a touchdown. No field goals attempted for Justin Tucker, but he was 8 for 8 on extra points. Stout, 2 punts, 35.5 yards per punt, 38 was his line. Stone led the Ravens defense with 6 tackles, plus 1 pass defense and an interception. Darby, 5 tackles. Mollett, 5 tackles and a pass defense. Williams, 4 tackles. Roquan Smith, 3 tackles, 2 passes defense and an interception. Patrick Queen, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Mata BK, 2 tackles and a sack. Pierce, 2 tackles. Rock Yassin, 2 tackles. Jones and Worley with 2 tackles also for the Ravens. For the Dolphins, meanwhile, Tua Tagovailoa, 22 of 38, 237, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 71.9 passer rating. Devin A-Chain, 14 rushes, 107 at 7.6 per run, led the Miami ground attack. Wilson, 3 for 21 on 7 per run. Tua, 2 rushes, 14 yards, also on 7 per run. Brooks, 4 for 12 yards on 3 per run. Tyreek Hill and Matt White ran once for no yards each. All right, Tyreek Hill led the Dolphins receivers with 6 catches for 76 yards on 12 targets, 12.7 yards per catch. Smythe, 3 for 54 on 3 targets, 18 per catch. Devin A-Chain, 4 catches, 30 yards, and a receiving touchdown on 5 targets, 7.5 per catch. Cedric Wilson, 2 for 27 and a touchdown on 4 targets, 13.5 per catch. Ingold, 1 catch, 18 yards on 2 targets. This is going to be Jeff Wilson. All right, Jeff Wilson, 3 catches, 13 yards, 4 targets, 4.3 per catch. Braxton Berrios, 2 for 10 on 2 targets at 5 for grab. And we got another Hill on the roster. So this is not Tyreek Hill, but the tight end Julian Hill. 1 catch, 9 yards on his only target. Let me get my hand out the way of the camera. Claypool, Craycraft, and Chosen each had a target, but no catches for either one. Jason Sanders, 2 for 2 on field goals. Long was 38, 1 for 1 on extra points. Bailey with 3 punts at 52.7 per punt. 62 was his long. 1 touchback, 1 inside the 20. Elliott led the Miami defense with 7 tackles. Long and Riley with 5 tackles each. Bradley Chubb, unfortunate news for him. He did record 3 tackles where he tore his ACL. He's out for the rest of the year, and he might not be ready for the start of 2024. So that's a big blow to the Dolphins defense. Seiler, 3 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. Holland, 3 tackles, and 2 tackles. Davis also with 2 tackles, likewise for Wilkins. Eli Apple, 2 tackles in pass defense, and Jalen Ramsey with 2 tackles for the Dolphins. Total yards, 491 for the Ravens, 375 for the Dolphins. Passing yards, 331 to 221 Baltimore. Rush yards, also a slight advantage to the Ravens, 160 to 154. Time of possession nearly split in half, 30 minutes, 23 seconds for Ravens, 29 minutes, 37 seconds for the Dolphins. First downs, Baltimore had 24 versus Miami's 20. The Dolphins were 6 of 15 on 3rd down, 2 for 4 on 4th down. Ravens 4 for 7 on 3rd down, 1 for 1 on 4th down. 5 penalties, 37 yards for the Miami Dolphins. 3 sacks taken for 16 yards. 1 lost fumble, 2 interceptions, 3 punts. 7 penalties, 45 yards for the Baltimore Ravens. 1 sack taken for 9 yards. 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, 2 punts. And as we close things up here, closing line was Baltimore -3. They covered that with relative ease. Over under was 46, and they covered the point total by themselves as well. I took the Ravens both straight up and against the spread. So halfway through the Week 17 schedule, I am 6-2 in my straight up picks and 7-1 ATS. So that's going to wrap up part 1 of this Week 17 edition of the week that was. I'll be back later on this afternoon for part 2, where we'll look at the 4 remaining early games, including the Patriots at the Bills, the Saints at the Buccaneers, the 49ers and Commanders, and the Titans and Texans. We'll also look at the 3 late games from Sunday, including the Bengals and Chiefs, the Steelers and the Seahawks, and the Chargers and Broncos, and Sunday Night Football with the Packers and Vikings. Also coming up will be my week team power rankings, which I will get to work on here in just a second. And the updated playoff races in the NFL heading into the final week of the 23 season. So join me later for part 2. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the pigskin and welcome to 2024. Peace out.